Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I'm joined by the co-founder of Small Robot Company, Mr. Sam Watson-Jones. How are you today, Sam?
I'm good, Stephen. How are you?
I'm very good. We have to get this out of the way. Possibly the coolest company name I've ever had on here.
Okay.
It
Thank
like
you very
just it
much.
just ticks every childhood dream, I think, of a company name when you're a little boy that you could ever possibly imagine.
Yeah, great. That's what we were going for. That's what we're
Yeah.
going for.
Well, I don't know. But let's jump into this. For people that don't know who you guys are and what you do, it'll be really great just to get a little bit of a, not elevator pitch, but a little bit more than an elevator pitch of what Small Robot Company does and what you guys do.
Yeah, so we're a robotics and artificial intelligence company working in farming, and we have the ambition of turning farming into an exact science. So we're working with farmers to develop a sustainable farming model that regenerates the soil and whilst increasing yields. And so we're doing that by building three small robots. We call them Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they're using artificial intelligence to get right down to the per plant level for the world's biggest food crops.
Amazing. Just a small task then that you've set yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not short on vision.
Exactly.
That is for sure.
I mean, you're a, if I'm correct, fourth generation farmer yourself.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I'm really curious to know, at what point did you go, I'm going to do things slightly differently and I'm going to, embody AI, technology, robotics, when I guess it could have easily gone down the path of being a traditional farmer in that sense as well?
Yeah. So I was a traditional farmer. I went back to the family farm in 2011 when I was in my late 20s, and just immersed myself in being a farmer, doing all the jobs on the farm, driving the tractor, trying not to crash it too often, falling out with my dad, all the stuff that farmers' sons do. And there was a point, I think, through sort of 2015, 2016, a lot of this thinking started, where it just dawned on me that we should be doing more. We should be better at what we're doing. And really, it boils down to what I said at the top, which is that farming wasn't an exact enough science.
Hmm.
When we take a decision in farming, in an arable farm where we're growing crops, as you said, I'm a fourth generation arable farmer, and my great grandfather would recognise the way we take a decision, which is basically we walk into a field and we go, yeah, it needs a bit of fertilizer, or yeah, we need to treat it with this chemical, or whatever the action might be. But it's all done on gut instinct
Hmm.
and feel, and experience, and you're not guessing, but it's not exact. And so that frustrated me. I thought, well, I mean, surely, I mean, look at the way decisions are taken in other industries. Surely we can do better than that. And then the next thing was, when you act on that decision. So let's take the fertilizer example. You go, yeah, it needs a bit of fertilizer. Yeah, roughly in this amount. Right, let's go. You apply that fertilizer in such a broad brush, inaccurate way, and there's loads that's wasted. So we just accept in the industry that 40% of the fertilizer is wasted. It
Wow.
either evaporates or it ends up in the soil and then it leaches into watercourses and it causes all sorts of issues
And that's just
around the
considered
world.
normal.
Yeah, it's just a collective shrug
Yeah.
from the industry. Yeah, that's just what it is, because the machinery that we use has been designed to do a certain thing, which is basically to cover the ground as quickly as possible. It's all about efficiency of man hours, efficiency of operation, and operating at scale. And so that mechanization of farming, which has happened over the last 100 years, has worked for a time. Like, it's really made farming much more efficient. And then we've gone through this thing called the Green Revolution, which was all about the creation of fertilizers for farming and the development of agrochemicals. And all of that stuff, those were technological breakthroughs, and they worked for a long time. So from from 1920 to 1990, yields of most of the UK's major crops, wheat being the main one, increased 4 times over that time period. And then since 1990, hasn't moved at all. All right, so we've got the same yield today as we did 30 years ago.
Wow, interesting.
That's a global phenomenon, and really what that is a sign of a technology that has worked for a time but has now exhausted itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so what the thinking was well, there needs to be the next technological leap forward that enables those yields to pick up again, that enables farming to become much more sustainable, that enables us to shift towards being this exact science, as I've said. So that was this kind of the background thinking. I didn't know what that looked like in 2015, 2016.
Tom, Dick, and Harry were not even a thought in your head.
No, that's right. They weren't. And in fact, I have to give credit to my co-founder for the Tom, Dick, and Harry idea, which all came 2017 and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, you saw this problem or this frustration from you. What was the most challenging part, I guess, formulating the small robots team, the small robots idea, to be where you are today, where you've built amazing technology, you've implemented the AI systems, you sort of ticked a lot of those boxes that frustration was having. So, but what was the most challenging part for you to form the actual robotics company?
It's a good question. I think we started off so broad, like we knew there was something in doing things more accurately. But it took us a long time to form it into a really clear proposition, and I think that's something that is happening all the time. I think the biggest challenge over the course of the company has been actually focusing on what we're going to do first, because the opportunity is vast. This is a $5 trillion industry globally that we believe is on the cusp of massive transformation. And so it's like, which crop, which country, specifically within each crop, what is the thing that we're going to focus on? I think that's been the biggest challenge. The basic concept came together reasonably quickly. We actually, I have to credit a guy called Professor Simon Blackmore in this, who is now retired, but he was a world-leading professor at a university that was local to me, and he had started talking about this concept of what if we had small machines instead of big tractors? What could the advantages be? What if we didn't go tractors getting bigger and bigger, but we actually went smaller? I thought this was a really interesting concept. So he was really formational in terms of having conversations with him about what was technically possible. Because I don't come from a technical background, so I had no idea. And so I was going in there and talking to him, and he said something that was really important to me, which was, we were talking about this concept of highly accurate small machines going around doing jobs. And he says, all of this is technically possible. But the problem is, and on top of that, not only is it technically possible, but this is the professor talking now, I have been around the world and talked to farmers, and I know that they want this. I know that they're ready for this change, but there's no one building it. The big tractor guys are building big tractors. They're not going to build small robots. So what's needed is an entrepreneur to come in and bridge that gap between technical possibility and commercial demand. And just immediately I was like, that's what I want to do.
That's my role. This is me.
That's me. That's me, yeah. And then so Simon introduced me to Ben Scott Robinson, who became my co-founder. And we come from very different backgrounds. He's from user experience design and sort of a broad technology background, and I was a farmer. And we met for a Chinese Chinese lunch in East London in January of 2017. And literally, I think in about 40 minutes, decided, right, yeah, we're gonna form a company together here. We're gonna go for it. And because we just shared this vision. We bounced off each other really, really well, and I knew that he would be just as bold as me in terms of trying to do something really significant. And it's been the case ever since.
What about the difference in backgrounds from you both? Obviously, like you said, you're fourth generation farmer. He's sort of the UX AI designer, and did I say fourth generation designer or fourth generation farmer?
Fourth generation farmer, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That's right.
In my head, I was like, "What? Am I speaking right?"
My dad's not a designer.
You never know. You might find a book one day of this amazing art, and you'll be like, "Oh my god!" But talk to me about that relationship, because that really interests me. The fact that for you, in my head, from an outsider, you know, you've got this frustration, and it must be quite hard to sort of explain the whole story of that frustration for someone to understand it in a technical way, to be like, okay, cool, we can try and do this to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a great relationship, but it's been a funny one, because we weren't friends for 10 years before we started this company.
You've almost been thrown in a room together by this professor and been like, see what you guys do.
Yeah, exactly. It was literally like that. And so it's been a relationship where we've sort of had to work out our business roles and our friendship as we've gone along together, and as we've been trying to build a team around us. So it's been something that's evolved. I think what was really good from the start was that Ben was really interested in the product. He was really interested in developing these robots, what they could do, how people were going to interact with them, and he came up with that. He's really good at developing a proposition. So he came up with the concept of Tom, Dick, and Harry, and he got really excited about it, and he was going, I've got this idea for this. We're going to name all the robots. We're going to name everything in the business, and then each of them are going to have their own Twitter handles. I was like, all right, okay. Man. So he'd gone on, and he'd gone, okay, and I've got at Tom Robot. That's good. I've got at Harry Robot, but the other one's already gone. So we've had to go for at Richard Robot. But I don't know.
Could have gone Robert.
Could have gone Robert. Yeah. So that's what we've got. So he is really good at the product side, and I was always really interested in, okay, how are we going to get farmers to change their behaviour, and how are we going to get farmers to want this new technology? How can we get them excited about it? How can we get them signed up and helping us do it? So that was how we split things, really. I went off and really tried to build a community and get a group of farmers that were really excited about this, and we've been very successful at doing that. And then Ben always gets really excited about building teams and finding the right people to fill the right gaps, and who are going to build this thing. Yeah. And that's the way we've done it, really. And it's been good.
I'm intrigued to know how those conversations went when you went to other farmers and said, right, I'm going to build a robotics company that is going to make your life easier. Were they open to it, or was there resistance? Because again, from an outsider's point of view, in my head, it's quite a traditional industry. Like you said, people are used to buying bigger and bigger machines, and that's kind of where that roadmap is going. And then you're rocking up onto the farm going, hey guys, I'm going to build a robot that's going to make your life easier and actually do a much better, precise job than your big old John Deere over there.
Yeah, it was certainly a bit of a mind-bending conversation for a lot of the farmers that I went and spoke to. But that's what I spent the first 6 months of the business doing. Yeah. It was one of the best things that we've done, really. Was we didn't spend any money at all, apart from a little bit of petrol money, just going around talking to farmers. And I spoke to probably 100 farmers in that first 6 months. And it was fascinating, because you had to kind of pick apart what they were saying. So they were saying, well, very clearly they were saying what we're doing isn't working, right? So we know that we're having more of a negative environmental impact than we would like. But
so you knew there was that common frustration straight away.
Yeah, and we also knew that they weren't making any money. And they didn't really have a clear path forward. They all said, well, we hope that people will pay more for their food in the future, or we hope that something happens in seed breeding that enables wheat to start producing way more than it has in the past. But they didn't have a really clear path forward or a really clear strategy. They were all really interested in this idea of robotics, but they were like, well, but you're not going to be able to do that, or it's there was or technically that's not going to be possible. Yeah. There was a lot of skepticism, but even the most skeptical person said, well, if it worked, that would be amazing. And so that was all I needed. I was like, okay, well, you don't know whether it's going to work, and frankly, I don't know whether it's going to work. But we'll go.
We're both going to take a punt and see if it does work. Yeah, we're both
going to take a punt. Yeah, exactly, and see if it does work. And so then it's about hiring the right team to go and do it. But the key final thing from the farmers was that we've eventually got a group of 20 farmers that we got each of them to pay a £5,000 deposit on our services, and this was way before we had any services. This was about 3 years ago. And so that was, for me, that was a massive show of faith and enthusiasm for the things that we're building, and a signal that this is an industry that's ready to change.
Definitely.
And then so that group has been, they're now, we're really close to all of them now, and they've been this foundational group that we call our Farmer Advisory Group. We talk to them every month. We talk to individuals within that group much more frequently than that, and they are helping us to design the robots. They're helping us to work out what the right price should be, get all the requirements around how quick does it need to go, to what level of accuracy, what are the key problems that you're facing, and all of those sorts of things. And they're really driving the whole thing forward. And then what's been great this year has been that the first 3 of those farmers have actually received the first commercial service of our robots on the farm. So they're starting to see it all become a reality.
Yeah.
But it's been a really key point for us, is just stick really close to the customer, get a really detailed understanding of what they want, and then build the things they want.
Especially in this industry, because it sounds like an industry built on trust and built on seeing what other people are doing, seeing what others are working for them. So like you said, if you get that core group, then hopefully it's going to create this nice knock-on effect, which is going to be really great for you guys. How did it feel when you saw your first robot? Was it Tom, Dick, or Harry, the first one?
The first one was Tom.
So how did it feel when
scanning robot? Yeah.
How did it feel when you first saw Tom in a field that wasn't yours, or wasn't associated with the company? That must have been an incredible moment, not just for you but for the entire team.
Yeah. Well, the first time, it was, and we continue to have. We continue to have moments like that where, and Ben and I, we do have to kind of pinch ourselves sometimes, where you just see these things working, and also you see the quality of the team that we've managed to build now, and we do have to just take a step back and go, this is really great. This is really starting to happen now, and because for a long time, it's been a long lead time in. It's nearly 4 years now since I met Ben. I don't think either of us thought it would take this long, and we're still not there yet. But there have been moments along the way where you just think your faith that what you're doing is the right thing, and your faith that what you're doing is going to work just increases. And I have way more belief now, 4 years on, that this is going to be a really significant business, and that what we're doing is going to play a really significant role in how farming and food production changes than I did when we started, because I just didn't know when we started. I knew there was an opportunity, but I didn't know how technically feasible it all was. And so each of those moments where you get that kind of that feedback loop where you go, this is really starting to come together. They're really exciting moments.
They're the moments you look for.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the human impact? Because, like you said, you're improving these farmers' procedures and making it easier for them, and hopefully making so they have less loss. That must have a significant improvement on just their outlook in terms of the farming industry themselves, and that future of, like you said, it almost sounds like a lot of them had just put their future in someone else's hands, and this is almost allowing them to take that control back.
Yeah, I think so. I think what we're really bringing to farmers is confidence in the actions that they're taking on farm. So you have to think about it as a value chain, which is sense, predict, act, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably worth going into a little bit more detail on exactly what we do. So when we say sense, we mean gathering data. So that's the Tom robot that's going out and he's gathering data across a whole field. The first crop that we're looking at is wheat. So he goes out and he takes images of the crop, but really detailed, granular images, so that within that he can then communicate with our AI platform, which is Wilma. She's the boss of the robots, if you like, and she's gathering in the data. And she's recognizing each individual plant, identifying, okay, that's wheat, and that thing next to it, that's a weed, and actually it's this particular species of weed, and so getting right down to that level of detail. And then you're essentially creating a digital map of the field. You're digitizing that field. You know exactly where everything is. You know exactly what everything is, and then you're using artificial intelligence to make predictions about what the appropriate action on that particular part is. Is this part of the field going to be susceptible to a particular disease? Does another part of the field need more nutrients?
Mm-hmm.
Does this weed need taking out? Is this weed going to be a threat to the target crop, or is it actually something that you can leave in place?
Makes it incredibly predictable.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing that there is so much. Really the core of this is artificial intelligence, mm-hmm. right? And so we're just sort of starting to scratch the surface with this, because the robots are a way of a tool to enable data to be gathered in that detail, but also to enable action to be taken in a really detailed way. But it's the artificial intelligence that actually transforms farming, because all of those decisions that a farmer takes should be data based, and everything that impacts those decisions is knowable now. In 2020, with the technology that we have available, it is knowable, but artificial intelligence can help us to understand that, and it's actually the robots that then take action when you've gathered that level of detail. And so then, just to finish the final bit, so what we're doing is you gather data, for example, where the weeds are, and then Dick, which is the non-chemical weeding robot, comes in and physically takes out a weed with an electrically charged arm. So you'll say, right, there's a weed here, I'm going to come and I'm going to physically touch that weed, send electricity through it, that kills it without using any chemicals. So that's it's a key part of what we're doing, is we're
mm-hmm.
trying to move towards a world where we rely much less on chemical intervention. And when we do go and make an intervention in a crop, we do it in a really targeted way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said earlier, it is an incredible mission or feat that you've embodied upon yourself. Like you said, 4 years ago, you and Ben met. 5 years ago, it was just a frustration for you. If we think about now, present day, what's been the biggest challenge for you personally to, I guess, make that switch from fourth generation farmer to co-founder of an AI robotics company, which I guess when you were growing up, is probably never would have been in your even mind that this would have been possible.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting journey for me personally. I mean, it took me a while to really think of myself as an entrepreneur, I guess. I think I thought of myself as a farmer for a long time, and there's entrepreneurial things that farmers do, mm-hmm. but that is a key mindset shift from being I'm someone who operates a farm to I'm someone who's an entrepreneur. That took me some time. I think one of the biggest transitions, obviously, and you touched on this, 5 years ago I was full time, most weekends on the farm, and doing everything that needs to be done on the farm. Now I'm almost none of my time on the farm. I am still very much involved in the family business, but I'm not doing any of the day-to-day management, and I'm certainly not doing any of the day-to-day operations. So a key thing for me has been getting the right team in place to do that. I'd sort of edged my father towards retirement over the sort of preceding 3 or 4 years, and now I've had to edge him back out of retirement and get
He
him more
loves it though,
involved.
let's face it.
Yeah, yeah, of course he does. He does. And the and so that's been, there's been some challenges. There's been some challenges there, and then it's been about always thinking very rigorously about how can I be most useful to the business.
Yeah.
It's certainly not building robots, and it's not writing code. So it's been about trying to get more and more refined around how can I lead this business forward, which is an ongoing learning experience, really.
But I guess there's no better person to lead a business forward than someone that has had the frustrations, understands the industry like you can, but also understands it from a youthful perspective, where you understand that actually there's much cleaner ways to do things now. There is technology out there that can help, and just pairing all these pieces of jigsaw together to finalize again that mission that you guys want to do. You mentioned the team there. I want to really briefly talk about how you did build your team and what you looked for in the team to make sure that they would really fit into the dynamics of small robot company.
Yeah, so I think Ben, Ben has really the key driving force on the team. Most of the team we've built to date. But one thing that was really interesting that we did very early on. So Ben and I just got on straight away, and that was great. But one thing we did when it was just the two of us was we went and did an assessment called a Colby A assessment, which is like, I suppose, a little bit like a Myers-Briggs, a little bit like a sort of personality assessment, but it's more about how do you instinctively take action, and so it talks about, okay, but what's the sort of level of detail that you need? How much do you like to innovate and just do things, and sort of learn by experimentation? So it measures you on across 4 different factors. And what we realized was that we were almost exactly the same.
Wow.
So our instincts were almost exactly the same, which was great, and an indicator as to why we'd sparked off so easily together. But it also made it obvious to us that we just have enormous blind spots. So Ben and I will just brainstorm and bounce ideas off each other all day, but actually turning that into a repeatable, reliable process that turns into something concrete, we're not so good at that. We just want to keep coming up. We just want to keep coming up with ideas. So what we did right at the start was we did a Colby A profile on everyone that came into the business, and what we were looking for in those first couple of hires was people who contrasted with us. So we wanted people whose instincts were to do a load of research and to get a load of detail before they took an action.
Yeah.
As an example, and so Joe, our CTO, was the first person that we hired, and he's a great contrast to Ben and I. Much more realistic, much more procedural and detailed. And then Catherine, our COO, came in, and she's exactly the same. She wants to turn things into definable systems and processes. Yeah. And so a real contrast to us. And then that has remained a foundation. And now we're up to nearly 40 people now. And that has remained a foundation as we've gone through. We go, well, what part of the process is this person involved in? And therefore, what are the instincts that we need? So, for example, if you're building a robot, you need someone who's got quite a bit of the what's called quick start in Colby A, which is the ability to just spark ideas off and go, well, maybe we could design it like that. Maybe we could design it like that. But then you also need someone who's going to be much more, okay, well, now we've got that design. Now this is the process that we're going to go through in order to build that thing. And then you need someone who's doing the quality control and sort of handling the implements, if you like, and understanding exactly how each part fits together. So you need a real diversity of different skills there.
It's a really intelligent way to build a team, though, because I feel like, especially some founders, they they try and build that team where everyone gets on and it's all dandy. When actually, like you said, you need the contrast, you need the strengths, you need the weaknesses, but it's a really intelligent way to be able to sort of level that playing field from day one to know what everyone's strengths and weaknesses are, and then you can, as co-founders, you and Ben can really nicely build that dynamic within the team to make it, I guess, almost, it's effectively like the human side of your robotic company, isn't it? You're making it as efficient as possible by knowing the strengths and weaknesses, which is incredibly intelligent, which is very good to see. One of my final questions for you, Sam, is what is next for you guys? I know 4 years on in a robotics company is probably such a small amount of time overall, but what is the next step for you, if you can tell us, that is?
Well, it depends how long a time frame you want. I think the first thing to say is that this is a long term. This is a long-term transition that we think is going to be a global transition. So we're all in this. We're all in this for the long haul. We're trying to build a big, independent business that makes a significant impact on the world of farming. And we think over the next 20 to 30 years, per plant farming, as we call it, this idea that you can do everything at the per plant level, is going to become the dominant form of farming system in the world, ultimately for any crop that you grow on any farm of any size, anywhere in the world. And so we're trying to build the technology that enables that to happen. And now within that ambition, over the next few years, what we're going to be doing is rolling out our commercial service in the UK. We've got a massive, as I say, we're delivering that commercial service on just 3 farms at the moment, but we've got a massive waiting list of well over 100 farms that are signed up and ready to go in the UK. We're also in conversations with farmers in Canada to do some early trials, and we'll probably try and replicate a lot of what we've done in the UK there as well. So if everything goes well, we will be doing some trials in Canada next year, and then we'll grow it as quickly and as sensibly as we can from there. But there is, I had an amazing day earlier this week where the Department for International Trade, DIT, put on like a showcase where you had the opportunity to meet representatives from around the world. And I spoke to people from, I think, about 10 different countries around the world. And what we're developing is needed in all of those places. And even though the variation of what agriculture looks like in China to what agriculture looks like in Chile is enormous, but still the basic foundation that we are building is going to be something that's required. So it comes back to what we said was one of the major challenges. It's about prioritization and trying to select the best opportunity for right now. But we're really excited about what the future holds.
So exciting. It's nice for me to be able to talk to someone that is, like we said, in those early stages of massive change within an industry. So, for me, it's going to be really great just to see that change happen over the years and years and years. And as I'm not a farmer, shockingly, although I would love to own a farm, but I'm not a farmer. It would be interesting to see how I get relayed that information from sort of the public side of things, because I think the more that the public know about processes and how things work, then actually the more that we will be open to, cost increases if need be and things like that. I think that's a massive grey point in terms of just the communication between farm and end user is a little bit too sexy marketing at the moment and not quite realistic, perhaps, which is a really interesting part.
Yeah, I think you touched on something really interesting there, which is actually one of the potentials for per plant farming is really to increase the transparency of exactly how has this crop been grown. So we think, robot farmed. Look out for that as a concept in the coming years is going to become a really big thing because exactly that. I think it'll. One of the things that digitization enables, which is essentially what we're talking about, is the digitization of an industry. One of the things that it enables is a shortening of supply chains, and I think that is a huge opportunity for for farmers, for producers of food, but also something really exciting for consumers, where there's going to be new ways of producing this stuff and marketing it and telling the stories about it. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's all an exciting revolution.
And you guys are pioneering, which is super exciting in itself. So I guess my final question, Sam, is how can people follow the business? How can people follow the company? If there's any farmers listening, which I'll be quite surprised about, but how can people get in touch with you if need be?
Smallrobotcompany.com is the website. You can get in touch with us on Twitter, which is @smallrobotco, and sign up to our. If you're interested in this as a concept, sign up to our new newsletter, which is called simply the 4AR. So it's the4ar.com, and you sign up to that through our website as well. And it's all about the fourth agricultural revolution, and the fact that what we're talking about, whilst it is really exciting, is only a very small part of the enormous change that is happening around the world in all sorts of different sectors, from vertical farming to cellular agriculture to you name it. And there's some fantastic companies and some enormous amount of investment coming into this area. So yeah, we've pulled together a newsletter that sort of tries to articulate all of that. So sign up to that and you can follow us through there.
Amazing. Sam, thank you so much for coming on Founders 365. And like I said, I wish you all the best. And I am really looking forward just to seeing how you guys evolve as a company and get yourselves to market more.
Thanks, Stephen. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks everyone else for listening and watching. This has been Founders 365.